Everyone, welcome back if you're a returning viewer. WB here, and in this video what I want to do is show you how you can implement compliance policies using Microsoft Intune. Remember, if you're enjoying what you see on the channel, I encourage you to like, subscribe, comments are always welcome, share this video, and continue the discussion with us on our community Discord server. Link in the description below. What do you say? Let's dive in. All right, everybody, here we are on my Windows desktop, and we are logged into the Microsoft Intune Admin Center. Let me kind of zoom in here. So if you're like me and you have 4 eyes, you need all the help you can get. But you can see that we're in the Microsoft Intune Admin Center here. And what we want to do is create a compliance policy here. So a few different ways that we can do this. If you've followed along in the videos that I've done, we're going to navigate into devices. And as always, remember a couple different ways that you can do this. You can use the by platform here, and you could, go by platform here, or you could use the tile interface. Doesn't really matter which one you might choose. I'm going to go ahead, I'll choose Windows. And then under Manage, we have, you can see configuration and compliance here. Well, this is what we want, but before we dive in there, let me show you here, because this was Windows devices. Let's go back to our device overview page here, and let's look at iOS, iPadOS. Right, so when we select this as our platform here, keep in mind that under Manage Devices here, you also have a compliance section as well. And this is where you could implement and control compliance settings for iOS devices. Again, get used to doing the navigation with this breadcrumb trail. I'm not sure exactly what might show up on the exam, but again, knowing these paths and knowing how to get here pretty much by heart is going to be important. So again, we go to Devices, and then from Devices, we choose the platform that we want. I'm going to go back to Windows. We'll do a Windows compliance policy, but just understand it really just depends on which platform you have. But as far as what settings are going to be readily available, but all of your devices have the ability to set a compliance policy. Now, here we have a compliance policy. You can see I already have one set up. If you didn't have one set up, then obviously there wouldn't be anything in here, and if we wanted, we could check the existing policy here. But let's go ahead, let's go up here, let's create a new policy. That's what we want to do, and we're going to get our little pop-out blade here, and when we look at the platform here, try to figure out whether you're doing Windows 10 and later. You really shouldn't be using Windows 8.1 anymore. It's well past its support. It's EOL, end of life, right? So there's no support on it, but so just kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to use Windows 10 or later here, and then it's going to ask us what kind of compliance type do we want. Do we want a template, or do we want specifically a Windows 10 compliance policy? I'm going to use the Windows 10, Windows 11 compliance policy. We're going to choose Create, and this allows us to create the profile. Now, when we start to walk through our policy or profile creation, remember, depending on where you are in the interface inside of Intune, and what you're doing will dictate how many of these options are available. Sometimes it might be 3, sometimes it could be 4. In this case, it's 5, right? Naming conventions, as I always say, make sure that your naming convention makes sense to you. It's important that it's easily identifiable, because you might not be the only administrator inside of your Intune, in the Intune interface. Most likely, you're not going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use, I'm going to actually make 2 of these. I'm going to do East US Devices, right? And we'll call this dash, I don't know, comp. Maybe I'll go ahead and just put compliance. And I'm going to put 02 because I know I have an East US Devices compliance policy already. But so for me, when I talk about the naming convention, just like we talk about a lot of the other naming conventions, I can tell that this is my East US office, and this is a device compliance policy. In fact, let me go ahead, and we're going to make this a little bit more specific. I'm going to do Win 11 compliance policy because I want to be a little bit more specific in this. So Win 11 here, we've already got our platform type. We're going to choose Next, and here are our compliance settings based on the compliance policy that we selected, right? We can do things like network access control like we could do inside of Windows domains, right, with something known as the network access policy server, right? And you can do system health validators, and essentially what happens is your device, when it connects to the network, network, it takes an SHV, System Health Validator, and it sends it to what's known as a health attestation server. That health attestation server compares what the requirements are for the device configuration, and it compares it against the network policy. And if the System Health Validator, the device health match, they meet in their compliance or compliant, then access is granted to the network. If they're not compliant, a couple of things could happen. You could just really just block them outright from the network, or you could put them in a remediation network where they could, go through the steps to become compliant with the network access policy. So thinking about that on-prem solution, now think about device help here in the cloud, right? We have a Microsoft attestation service, right? So what's going to happen is that same concept will apply. The device is going to send a little bit of information, but instead of a specific on-prem server, this is the Microsoft attestation service, right? And this gives us the ability to configure various settings for our compliance policies. You know, we could say, hey, require BitLocker, require secure boot. Well, by the way, secure boot is required just to get Windows 11 installed. So that is something to keep in mind too. Do we want to do code integrity? We could do things like, property of the devices as well too. System security, we could look at and control some aspects around the password as well. And it's really up to you on how you configure these, as far as you want to go. But then when we choose next, now we have to determine what action is going to happen for non-compliance, right? And you can see here, mark the device as non-compliant, right? Schedule 0. But what I'm going to do is say send an email to the user. Not only do I want to mark the device as non-compliant, putting 0 in there, making it immediately, what I also want to do is I want to send an email to the user, right? Maybe I have a message template that I've configured, and I shouldn't have a message template in here. Yeah, I haven't configured one, right? And I could send a notification to the user and maybe potentially additional recipients as well. So for instance, maybe I want to put in if I can spell cloud, maybe I want to put in the cloud admin. Let's see, and I'm not finding cloud admin. Can I find myself? No. I guess I could put some groups in here, but I'm not going to. There's nothing really to select, so actions for non-compliance, right? What do I want to do? Do I want to mark the user? Do I want to select additional recipients here? Let's see if I can remove this. Let me go ahead and delete that, and I'll just choose next, right? And when we choose next, this is where we can configure our assignments, right? So for instance, we can add our groups here. I'm going to pick on our East US devices like I always do. Notice that they show up in our groups now, and we can see the devices that this applies to. We could also do some filtering as well too if we have filters already. So we could get a little bit more granular, right? And for instance, I could say include filter devices in the assignment, and I have a couple of filters that I've created here, right? I could say device version 0, version 01 here, my filter, and I could add that, or I could remove the filter. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the filter here. I don't really need that. Re-add my group. My group is going to be basic here, and we'll choose select and then choose next. And then here's our review and create. All right, and when we look at our review and create, just like most of the summaries, I encourage you to go through this because if you type as well as I do, probably make a mistake from time to time, and it's kind of good to know, make sure that you've got these settings right. But after you can create this, and once this is done, you should get a success message up here, and that's kind of what we want. And then it shows up. It happened kind of quick. Let me back out here, and you can see here now I got a couple of compliance, right? And here is that Win11 one that I just created here. And now what we get the ability to do is we can monitor, some of the attributes of the policy, compliance, non-compliance, total. We could view a report, and we can also do a little bit of filtering here per setting status. We can come over here to properties, and when we look at properties, this is where we can look at the properties of the overall compliance policy. Again, keep in mind that if you're like me and you tend to make mistakes, even when you're just testing things out, maybe you decided, hey, I don't want this to be, the East US device groups, right? Maybe I want this to be Windows devices, right? So you can come in here and you could edit this if you needed to, or even add a filter. I'm going to go ahead and choose cancel to that. But there you have it. That is how we can create and deploy a compliance policy inside of Microsoft Intune. I will do keep in mind, if we go back to, like I said, all of your platforms here have the ability, if you select them, there's for Mac OS, for instance, right, compliance policies, and the settings that are available are just really contingent on the platform. And sometimes you'll see settings that are available based on the enrollment type too. All right, well, there you have it, everybody. I ask, as always, if you like what you see here, be sure to subscribe to the channel, right? Click that notification button. Comments are always welcome. Join us on our community Discord server, link in the description below. And thank you so much for taking the time and watching.